Hello and welcome back to the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Gaddis, and I'm grateful to be here with you. Got my wife on this episode. I'm psyched. We're going to dig into what women want and what men want in a partnership. This is a very heterosexual, heteronormative relationship conversation, so just a heads up about that. And some of you know I put out a blog post, asked some questions on social media. Just wanted to get my wife's take, and we have an interesting conversation about some of the top answers from men and women. So check it out, all right? And again, Ellen and I, there's a chance we could do a couples mastermind this year, like a couples mentorship, if you will. And I'm curious if you're interested in that. Let us know. Send us an email, all right? info@relationshipschool.com. Okay, let's dive right in. You know, Ellen is an amazing woman. We have been married 12 years, going on together 16, I believe. And yeah, we'd love to help you. So here's a quick slice from us. Welcome to the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Gaddis, and I have a special guest today.
Ellen Boeder.
Ellen Boeder, my wife.
Yes.
What's up,
Ellen? Just here with you.
Great. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
We wanted to dive into lots of things.
Yes.
But in this particular episode, you and I have talked about this blog post I wrote, what women want from men. Mm-hmm. And then I am writing another blog post, what men want from women. So It's a very heteronormative conversation.
Yeah.
So just up front saying that.
Right.
And I did a quick podcast on those things women wanted. So we wanted to tie in the men here.
Okay.
And just have a conversation about it.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some interesting things.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first, let's review the context here of, people just ask us a lot questions about relationship, and it kind of comes down to, well, what do you really want? So it's an important thing that I asked the audience here, mostly on my social media network. What do you want from a partner, particularly a partner of the opposite sex? And I gathered a lot of responses, over 200 from women, and a very small number from men.
Right.
Now, these are only from my network, so this is not an extensive survey at all.
No.
Okay, so take this with a grain of salt. This is just a very small slice of human beings.
Yes.
But I think there's some telling patterns and themes.
I think so.
Especially since what men want from women, or what women want from men, the blog post, got read, a lot.
Okay.
30,000 something times.
Oh, nice.
So it resonated with a lot of people in Elephant Journal, right?
People were interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to just lump all women or all men and
Of course.
put us into categories like that. But since that was what's happening,
and
that's what we're working with.
I think hopefully this conversation can be useful for you in your relationship life.
Yeah. I mean,
Otherwise we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, even if it sparks your own questions about, what do I really want from you, my partner, whoever that is.
Yeah, or a future partner, if you're single. So let's review what the women wanted from men. Will you just read that list?
Yeah, and did you number them in terms of like the most frequent responses?
Most frequent to least frequent mentioned.
Okay, so the most frequent was women want men to, number 1, be willing.
Yeah.
Number 2, be emotionally available and willing.
And open, I think, was the other one, yeah.
Okay. Number 3, they want his presence. Number 4, she wants his honesty. Number 5, safety. And number 6, his self-awareness. Him to be self-aware.
Yeah.
And him to be safe, him to be honest, those things. Okay.
Yeah. And then men reported, this was very interesting, I thought.
What men want from women.
Yeah, what men want from women. And this didn't surprise me at all, number 1. But it might surprise some of you. And we'll explain why. The first one was acceptance. The second one was willingness. The third one was support. The fourth one was communication, and the fifth one was affection and sex. All right.
Yeah.
So, Ellen, when you look at these lists, I mean, what initially stands out to you?
I have so many reactions. I think that so often what we want from the other person and what they want from us are like these things that seem like they don't go well together, or you have to give me that first before I can give you that thing. And it's interesting how we work with our wants and our needs as couples and partners. Mm-hmm. So I start to think about that, like, ooh, how does all this go together? But then I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by women, because I hear this so much from women, that they want a partner who is when I hear willing, like willing to just be, to work on the relationship, to be in the relationship, willing to, like, what did you take from that, the willingness?
Yeah, it was the number one response by far. And there was a lot of sub-responses along with that one, right? Yeah. So it was things like, I want your willingness to fight with me. I want your willingness to talk about it with me. I want your willingness to, go to therapy. I want your willingness to just stay in this with me and deal. Yeah, stay in the relationship, work on it, prioritize it. Yeah, like just be willing to. She doesn't want to keep dragging him to look at the relationship or care about it. And I do, that is among some women a common complaint, that she feels like she's doing all the emotional work and care for the relationship and doesn't feel like he's participating in that. So that's not surprising. I've heard that. Emotionally available, that's like another one that again, I think makes sense based on things I've seen and heard, like where the emotionally available men, like men who know what they're feeling, know how to communicate that, talk about it, care about my feelings. Mm-hmm. It feels like there's a lot of women who don't know men who are very good at that. Yeah, in some circles. In some circles. Okay. And if we tie that one in, what's interesting, if we tie that into men's, one of his wants here is sex, like affection and sex. And he doesn't get, maybe guys, you do get that if you want more affection and a certain kind of sex, and it wasn't this, the guys weren't responding like, I want more sex. It wasn't sort of a very kind of low-level dude saying, I just want to have sex. Yeah. It was guys saying like, I would love to be more intimate with you. I want to feel like you care about me and my body. And mm-hmm. I want to be touched. Mm-hmm. I want, to have fun and to be sexual with each other. So it was, there were very responses that were thoughtful. Right. Sex. Right. And I go right into like, oh, well, she's probably struggling with that because she doesn't feel like you care about her, the relationship, in a way that would have her relax. Yeah, and maybe he's blocked around his heart. Yeah. And so again, without a heart connection, it's harder to have good intimacy. Yeah, over time, I think. I don't think that's as essential in the beginning to have satisfying sex, but down the road, I think it starts to show up more. Yeah, big time. And I think the thing she wants would help her be that way with him, right? Yeah. I definitely see that. Yeah, and let me come back to the male side here. I want to talk about number one for men. Yeah, and I want to talk about that too. So many men. Well, do you want to just say your thoughts first? My first thought, which is like not, it's from a part of me that's like, oh, he wants acceptance. Like, well, accept his bullshit? Am I supposed to accept that? Like, what are we talking about here? And I know that like acceptance isn't just like roll over and don't ever challenge me, mm-hmm. but I wonder, like, I want to hear the male side or like how you interpret that, because I think that in some of the dynamics I've seen in couples, and even just when I think of this list, acceptance could sound like just kind of like, leave me alone, like stop trying to change me, because there's so many women trying to get their guys to like grow up and engage and participate in the relationship and grow their social emotional capacities and all that.
And not that all men need that, but in some dynamics that's going on. And so I wonder what you think he means by acceptance. And because I totally support that that's a valid thing to want. Like, hopefully you feel like I accept you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I do feel that.
And because I think that is so important, but I wonder in certain dynamics what that really means.
Yeah. Well, exactly. In certain dynamics, a lot of these are kind of certain dynamic dependence.
Yeah, dynamic dependent.
Depending on your dynamic. But a lot of guys spoke to not wanting to feel criticized and judged.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys, that's one of their wounds from their childhood, is feeling like they had a critical father or their coach or whoever, like they couldn't do anything right. And then they get hypersensitive to that in an adult partnership. Particularly a long-term relationship where they start to feel judged over time. Like, I can never do anything right around here. And then he puts his wife in the role of like the nag.
Yes.
Or the woman who's always reminding me to do things, or I can't just, why did I do it this way? Or whether it's with the kids or finances or something. And so guys have a deep issue here. And I think it's like any of these are huge opportunities for growth. For guys to realize, like, you know what, I accept myself, and I'm kind of neurotic sometimes, and you have to have self-awareness, though, a good degree of it, to be able to genuinely accept these parts of yourself. You can't just say, I do accept myself, I'm fine with the way I am, and then keep getting defensive, because that just shows that you're not accepting yourself. Yes. But it's a sensitive one for guys.
Sure. And I do think that I could see how some men feel like their female partner is just critical of them a lot, like how they're showing up in the relationship, how they're showing up in the world, how they help around the house or not, like all of that. And I get curious about what's driving that for women. Like, why are women trying to change their guy or have so many complaints, like what's going on there? And my guess about that is that, I think we were talking about this the other night. That's how we decided to do this podcast. But I was starting to think that I think when a man, like in these male-female dynamics we're talking about, let's say the man starts to disengage in the relationship or just isn't showing as much interest, okay? And she really wants that from him. That can start to feel threatening to her. It can start to have her feel like she doesn't know where she stands, or where does he stand, or wait, who's doing all the work here? Is this fair? That's really important to women, especially these days. Like, women don't want to do more than their fair share of work for the relationship or around the house too. And I think that her feeling of threat or about his distance or his aloofness starts to come out as pointing things out or complaints versus maybe coming more directly at him with, hey, something's not working for me here, or, having more of an intentional conversation about it. But I'm just trying to think about that. I'm thinking about my couples that might struggle with things like that too, and just what's really going on underneath that for both of them. Yeah. But there's something about, you're saying something about, does he even really accept himself? And is she wanting something in the relationship that she's not directly owning or asking for, or maybe he's not capable of? Like, have they even agreed on how their terms of engagement? Like, how are we going to do this here? Yeah. What's going to feel good to both of us?
And being really honest, like, honey, what do you really want from me here? Could we have an honest conversation? Hey, I want your willingness. Cool. I want your acceptance. Yeah. To me, these first two go together.
They go together. Because they really do.
If I'm a guy and I'm not feeling accepted by you, it could be, and you want my willingness, it could be the very thing, these are just playing off each other. Right. You don't feel my willingness to meet you halfway in the relationship. Yeah.
So I don't accept you and how you're doing this.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then I feel judged, like I'm not doing enough, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough. And then I get defensive because I'm feeling ashamed, and I don't want to have you see that because it's not safe now to be vulnerable with you.
Right, because now I'm all edgy and judgy and like disappointed in you. Right. And I'm feeling judgy and judged, and I'm like, this is nothing feeling good. Inviting about that. Yeah, so strangely, I think these first two go really well together. I think they do. I really agree. Yeah. And again, this is in a particular group of men and women we're talking about. Right. Right. I liked seeing that what men want from women is communication, because that's, so often I hear women wanting that from men. Like, I want you to communicate more. And granted, these are like, we're making gender, categories here in a way, but it's not always true, of course. But what did you make of that? The communication, support?
Yeah. Well, again, I thought it was interesting. And even willingness, men, I think the type of men that, responded here, they also want a woman who's willing to come to the table, willing to work on their judgments of them, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that support was huge. That's obvious to me. Like, guys want to be supported in what they're doing in life. They're very sensitive around that. Like, if we don't feel supported, it's sort of like, I want you to believe in me. And if you don't believe in me, and I feel judged by you, I don't feel supported by you. And now I'm gonna, maybe it's like what I grew up with in my home again, where I didn't really feel that supported. I felt like you wanted me to be an athlete, or you wanted me to be good grades, or get a good job, but you didn't really support me.
Yeah.
And this is tricky for men, because some men are like over supported by a woman. And the woman gets burnt out on that.
Right.
And then the guy's like, I want to be supported. It's like, dude, you're over supported.
Right.
You could probably use some more challenge.
Right. And the support, she has to feel really genuine about that. It's like, oh, you need, all of these things. It's like, I can't just provide those because you want them. Yeah. I need to provide them because I see that I can. Yeah. And that I'm capable of it, and I see the benefit for you and for us if I do. It can't just be like that. Like, oh, you just need more support. Okay, even though I'm like totally judging this whole situation.
Yeah, that I haven't had a job in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
And you're actually a mother, and you're working full time.
Right.
And you're funding our life. Like, and I keep wanting support from you.
Right.
At a certain point, you're going to get burnt out.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
It's really true.
Yeah. So we get that there's certain situations where it's like, you're not going to get supported by your woman because she's like over it. And us guys have to realize that. And that's true for friends too. Like, how much longer are you going to, quote, support your friend who keeps drinking 7 nights a week and they keep saying they're going to change? It's like,
right.
Like, we all have a threshold.
Right.
And then communication, again, I thought that was cool also, that men said that, like, hey, I want communication. I think what men tend to get stuck here, and why they want communication, is they're like, I am communicating and I am talking, but it's not in a way that necessarily works for you, right? Or some of the men actually on the survey, the responses were kind of complaining about, well, her way of communicating, was hard for him. Sure.
Yeah, it can, I've totally seen that, where she feels like she's communicating well, but he's feeling like overwhelmed, or like she maybe explodes a bunch of stuff and then shuts down for a while, or doesn't hear from her for a long time, and then all of a sudden here's all this shit that's accumulating, like things like that.
Yeah,
like ongoing communication, so that he's not getting kind of blindsided or overwhelmed or stonewalled too. I mean, women do that too. So
I think also we've got going on here is the like a left brain, right brain dynamic. Guys, let's just stereotypically say, are more left brained, and they're like logical, and especially if there's a fight conversation, I'm going to go to like a list of what happened, and I'm going to come at it from a logical place and not a feeling place. Whereas a woman might come from a more feeling place. This didn't feel good to me, or she's trying to articulate her feelings and emotions. Yeah. And he's up here in his head trying to problem solve the situation. Yes. I think we could call it men or women, or you could call it left brain, right brain. Right. There's a lot of communication snags here.
Yes, there are.
Just a lot of misunderstandings.
A lot of misunderstandings about, like, sort of what do we deal with first in an argument, or if someone's upset, do we try to am I supposed to try to calm you down? Am I supposed to just listen to you? Like, people need help figuring that out sometimes.
Yeah. Is it really important that I hear the blow by blow of what I did or didn't say? Or is it more important that I validate your feelings? Yeah. And this is where guys get a little stuck sometimes. Yeah. And they really want to be understood in their logical framework sometimes. Like, look, I need you to see that this is how I see it. And I'm like, drawing you a map and I'm like spelling it out line
But
by
I want to
line.
be validated. My feelings. I want you to,
Exactly.
get that.
So again, what we're saying is you can validate both.
You can do both.
You
Yes.
can validate a person's thought process and their feelings.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to better communication.
Yeah. I think also just slowing down. Sometimes people are just going too fast and packing too much into an argument, and it's like, wait, one thing at a time. Slowing down can help kind of make sure all those things are gotten to.
Yeah. We speak about
want
presence,
your presence.
honesty, safety, presence, safety.
I'm imagining what the women meant by that, by I want your presence, is I want your full attentiveness here. We're, so often we're dealing with someone who's looking at a screen or distracted or half engaged or
stressed about work
or, so often whoever we're in relationship with, we want their full attention. And I think women, that really settles us, and I think it settles everybody.
Yeah,
but I think what the women are speaking to here is that would have them relax and feel cared about, prioritized, valued, that the relationship is prioritized and valued. I think a lot of what, those first three things, be willing, emotionally available, and presence, it's a lot about her wanting to feel that she and the relationship are of a high value to her guy. And those things really convey it.
Yeah, and guys, if you can convey that, you're going to get the things that are on your list, most likely, that you want.
And so often that is true for the men. The relationship is a high priority, but their actions aren't conveying that in a way that would really land for the partner.
Right. And I might have just bought you a house and be providing for you and working so hard. And again, that's one of the ways I show my care that you're a priority to me, but it's not necessarily translating. It's
not translating in that sort of more emotional, primal, human way that has us feel like, for our kids and for those parts of us that really just need to feel valued in a visceral, body to body, brain to brain kind of way.
So this is an example of where whoever you're with, you're going to want to know what they care about and what matters to them and how things translate. Hey, here's how I feel like a priority. It's when you did that thing last week for me. Remember last year when we went on that trip and you set your phone down and it was just all us for 3 days? That's like an example of holy shit, like you can really show up for me. So you want to give maybe a concrete example of where the person's done it in the past. I'm sure you've felt it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we all want to be prioritized though, truly.
For sure.
Because again, guys, you're wanting acceptance.
They want that too.
It's like, well then, tell your woman, here's the kind of things where I feel really accepted by you. It feels really good. I feel like I can let myself relax.
And it starts a conversation about, okay, how do we talk about the things that aren't going well? How can we talk about that in a way where you still feel accepted by me, but we can still talk about something that isn't working for me.
Yeah.
Because both can be true.
Absolutely. And can I, as a guy, tease those two out so I don't go into my habitual defensiveness pattern?
Yeah.
There, where I feel judged and criticized and I just start shutting down.
Right.
Or defending myself with you.
Right.
Yeah. So can you model? How would you model that with me right now?
I should think of something about you that bothers me.
My eyebrow hair? What is it?
No. You can't control that. Something like, just leaving your clothes around or whatever, your dirty socks. That kind of, you just take them off and kind of throw them.
Yeah.
How would I model that? I think it would be so much in how I approach you, which would be, how I talk to you and how I treat you. That's my first sense, is that it would be I'd just be like, honey, I know you're busy and you're thinking about a lot of things, and I would really appreciate if you would just, when your clothes are dirty, just put them in the dirty clothes thing. Then I don't have to wonder what stage of process are these clothes in? Are you going to wear them again? Are they done? Something like that. Yeah. And I could even I could even laugh about that with you, but that's partly because we don't have a lot of outstanding I don't have a lot of outstanding things
Charges,
I need to deal with you. But yeah,
that would completely work for me. Yeah, and I would laugh. We would have a laugh, like we are now. And I'm like, oh, right, it's that part of me that's kind of like a teenager sometimes.
Yes.
Right? So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the feedback, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, right, Ellen would feel like I cared about her if I picked up after myself. It's one way I actually can show my respect and care.
Right. I think it's
a little example.
Yeah, I mean, I think some things start out like that, like, oh, it seems like a simple request, like pick up with the socks, or, and then when it doesn't happen, as I think a lot of people get really hurt by that. Like, I've asked for this, and then you say okay, but then nothing happens. And granted, I picked something that might not
have a lot of
charge for you, but it would be that you do follow through on those things. And then when you don't, that I can be like, hey, honey, remember that? And you're like, oh, yes. That it just doesn't have to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But I think obviously some of that acceptance stuff might be about bigger things,
just in the interest of time, will you hit
Yeah.
Honesty and safety maybe, or self-awareness, one of those?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine women like honesty, they want to be able to trust their guy and know that he's being true to them. I mean, I don't think that's about, I think that's very much about feeling safe. I think they both go together, that you can't really feel emotionally safe with someone if you don't really trust what they're saying, even if it's just about honesty about what's going on in there, or how do you feel about all these decisions we've made, or this course we're on as a couple, or, like, she wants his involvement, and for him to have, I think, for some needs and to have some requests and have some, genuine, again, it's about engaging. I think engaging in a way that it doesn't have to always be the thing she wants to hear, but she wants to hear the truth. I mean, I know that's super important to me.
Yeah.
And then that really helps. That would, if I'm this woman, that would really help me feel safe and relaxed, because I know where I stand with you. I know what's going on in there. There can be mixed feelings about things, but we've talked about it and it makes sense. That really allows for me to feel like I can put energy in these other places in my lives, because I'm not so worried thinking about, like, wait, what did you mean by that? Or wait, you said this, but then I found out this. And, like, all those sort of, it's like someone who doesn't have that much self-awareness can start to look dishonest, even if I don't think they're really meaning to.
Like by saying I'm fine all the time.
That's one example, yeah.
Right? And being like, no, it's fine, everything's okay, I'm okay, I'm just kind of grumpy or whatever, but meanwhile I have this tornado going on inside. Yeah,
and she can kind of feel that, and it's like, are you just not telling me? Do you just not know? So, like, women spend a lot of time trying to figure this stuff out, because it feels a little threatening to have these sort of unnamed things in the relationship. So
and this is what you need to understand is, you can, if you're not honest with yourself, it's going to be hard to communicate that with someone else. And if you're not doing that, not doing a great job of that, because you either don't know or you feel numb or something, it does send threat signals to your partner. It just does on a kind of neuroceptive level. Yeah,
because you're saying one thing, but I feel another, and now I'm a little stuck and preoccupied on, well, you told me this, but I'm feeling like this, and this isn't matching up, and it's hard for me to move on and go on to other things if I'm kind of stuck around, like, wait, what's really happening here? It takes up a lot of space.
And of course, this is not a male-female thing. This is a human thing.
Human, yes.
It's like, you could be the one in the relationship that is tracking the other person's incongruencies, and it just doesn't feel good. It starts to, you're starting to connect the dots, and it doesn't, you can't relax because the person is kind of bullshitting you a little bit, and they're not meaning to. So a lot of times the person's not even meaning to. They're just not checked into themselves. Not clued in. Right.
It can take a little while sometimes. I also want to say, just continuing to try to be fair here, that I do have a lot of men that come into therapy with their partners because they're the ones who want to work on the relationship. And so I've just seen a lot of exceptions to all these things. I know we have, like, the sort of more stereotypical dynamics we're talking about a little bit here, based on the information we have from women, the information we have from men, but I think we've both seen a lot of exceptions to that, and it's not really weighted on one side or another so much in real life.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so bottom line here is, communicate. Like these guys are saying, that's essential.
Yes.
And, both of you want to be willing. That's going to create a good partnership.
Yeah.
If you're both can be willing to have these types of conversations.
Right. Both mentioned willingness like that.
Yeah.
Really want to feel like their partner's willing to show up and participate, probably especially when it's hard.
Yeah.
That means a lot when it's like, hey, it's hard right now and I'm here.
Yeah.
And I want to understand this and you and what's going on. That goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So we'll post this soon, and I'm curious when I'll get my blog post out here for the men, but this is just a quick snapshot. I wanted to get Ellen's take.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming in.
Yeah, it's fun to think about it and talk about it with you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Relationship School fans and Smart Couple listeners, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, all right? Do us a favor, subscribe, share one of these videos with a friend, all right? We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.